Hello, miners, and welcome to the 9th episode of Mining on the Foothills. Mining in the foothills, not on the foothills. We got to be in the foothills. Where I am on the search for dialectic gold with doers from around the Midwest. I am Wes from Wally Opus, as always. And today's episode is one from the archives. It's an interview I did back in September of 2021. Almost a year ago, exactly, a little over a year ago, with Fleshhole, a hardcore punk band from Evansville, Indiana. I met these guys after recording a live show called the Fuchsia Fest right here in Evansville. Took place again this past year. It was great. It's always great. It's small. It's the second year, but it's local bands put on. It's for local bands, put on by local bands, and that's where I met Fleshhole originally. During their set, I didn't realize what was happening. I just liked what they were doing. It was only after the set, when I was mixing their live recordings, that I recognized that they had cool stories in their songs, very thematic lyrics. So I listened to their record on Spotify and I was blown away by the quality and the music that I was hearing. And so I asked them to come in for an interview for a podcast that I had never created yet. I just wanted to do it as a way to get them in here and meet them and interview them. So it just sat dormant on my hard drive for a year, and this past week I was on vacation with my family, so I didn't interview anybody. So I thought I'd pull one from the archives and share it with you. So, without further ado, this is Fleshhole, your local hardcore punk band. Check, check. Sweet. All right, thank you guys for doing this. We have in the studio Fleshhole.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Can we begin by you guys, one of you, or all of you, tell me who you are and where you're from?
I'm Bryson. I do vocals, and I'm from Evansville, Indiana.
Born and raised.
Yep, whole life.
What side of town?
All of them.
Sweet. Hell yeah.
He's like, I live in the sewers.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
That's how he got his inspiration.
I move from side to side, so I don't get bored.
Sweet. That's actually a great answer. Not that I wasn't expecting a great answer, but that's good.
Are you sure that's the reason, Bryson?
I'm running from the law.
Cameron, tell him where you're from.
I'm from nowhere and everywhere at the same time.
Similar to Bryson.
Yeah. No, I'm from here.
We're
Evansville.
serious like that.
The same side of town.
No, primarily east side.
Okay.
But
And you play the bass.
I attempt to play the bass.
Okay. Hey. Did you play the bass on the record?
Yes.
Okay.
We call it assault. He beats it into submission.
Yeah. I don't actually play with my fingers or a pick. I just kind of bite at it with my teeth and my tongue.
Yeah.
If you turn the bass track all the way
grindcore.
it just sounds like he's punching it. We actually had to mute him halfway through the record.
Well, that's what I do at the show.
We
so
started doing
it had to
that
be
to him during
accurate.
the sets too, so he doesn't know that.
Yeah. It's kind of like
The secret
Metallica.
I'm Mason. I play drums. I'm born and raised here as well.
What side of town?
We're repping east side out here.
Hell yeah.
I'm Derek. I play guitar for the band and stuff. I'm also from Evansville and the east side as well. Like Mason
Sweet.
said,
Ooh.
east side everywhere.
East
Yep.
Side Gang.
Hell yeah. Right on. How did you guys meet?
High school mostly. I mean, Derek, those three, Derek, Cameron, and Mason all knew each other before high school, but I met all of them in high school.
Okay.
Going to like shows mostly.
So you were into the same type of music? Started-
Absolutely
No.
not. We're still not in the same type
Really?
of music.
No.
We still, I think me and Bryson the most probably argue about the
types of
styles.
music.
Do you-
I think Mason thinks we argue. I think we just don't listen to the same style of music.
Okay, so by style, like different genres or
Yeah.
subgenres. of the
Mason
same-
would not listen to Flesh Hole if we were a band that he did not play in.
Really?
Yeah.
So-
I would never listen. I don't even like the music. I'm
Good answer.
What would be an example of a genre that you do listen to that
probably just like 80s pop music.
Really?
I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, sweet. I dig that.
I don't know. I'm kind of more like I like the Smiths and stuff like that
Okay.
on my spare time. But also like I'm also really into like the turnstile kind of stuff that's been coming out lately. So
Okay.
that's what inspires me to play our stuff. But no, I'm not like I don't listen to like death metal or like some of the stuff they listen to.
Well, before we go any further, what would you describe your own music as being?
Surf metal or like crossover thrash. Yeah.
Crossover thrash?
Yeah, that's
Is
I
that
mean
a decent?
mostly crossover thrash, but I don't really think that it has like a
It's
I don't
like
know, maybe I'm up my own ass, but I don't
No.
really think that there's like a definitive style that we play in.
I think
Yeah.
we're too
It's-
all over the place.
Yeah, it's mostly like crossover thrash and then like punk rock and a little bit of, sometimes
It's, like,
we'll have
heavier than
surfy
punk
sounding
rock.
riff.
but everybody at a metal show would hate us. Like we could probably get on a metal bill, and then people would not like us.
At certain metal shows, they would hate us.
Yeah,
Not
there
all.
you go.
I'm
And
gonna
this,
disagree.
you think that they would fuck with you?
Well, for only if there's one thing a metalhead that only wants and likes, it's just bobbing your head and chugginess. I mean, pretty as simple as a guitar player. I figure you can find that out in a Flesh Hole song, at least one.
Does the surfiness come from like where does the word surf come in at?
Honestly, like the music we've released so far doesn't really have that kind of vibe, so it might catch people off guard for me to say that, but the music we're working on definitely like is gonna have a more surfy tone and a lot of reverb, a lot of like
Oh,
higher
sweet.
end stuff.
Sweet. Okay, so why start the band? What happened? How if you don't even like the same kind of music, how the fuck did we get here?
I think I'll try to put it in the best memory.
You got to bring up the alley court.
Oh, so like
Shit.
me and Derek have played music since we were like 13 years old.
Always the same always the same instruments.
I actually started on bass, but then like
Okay,
our
because
drummer
you played guitar during a different
yeah
set at the same show.
yeah. I played guitar for a Modest Proposal, and like me and him started. I played bass, and then I had to learn drums because our drummer couldn't come over. But anyway, like sidetrack. Me and him weren't really talking at the time because we were this busy with other stuff, and I was somewhat close to Bryson and our old guitarist, and at that time we all would just hang out. They knew we were in bands. They would come see me play in my other bands. Honestly, when I used to be in Farrington, which
Okay, that was the band before these guys.
yeah, and they come see us, and basically I come over one day, and them two have an idea of playing a song, and it's a really, really bad song.
Is it around still?
It is around.
Sort of.
It is. It's looming in the dark depths of Bandcamp.
Oh shit, that's a dark place.
Yeah, it gets.
Can be a dark
For
place.
It's
us,
definitely
it's
a-
fucking pitch black.
But to sum it up, but to sum the story up, we all kind of liked how random and spontaneous we connected when we all three played, and it ended.
Okay.
And we
We
just
thought we were the shit. Dude.
We just kept
thought
showing
it
up.
Sounded so good.
That's awesome.
do you want to come over Friday? And we just kept showing up, and eventually, I couldn't get the fucking rid of him.
we sat around. See, the drum kit was over there because we were gonna practice for a different band that never actually practiced.
Okay.
And so Mason got on the drums and we all played that song. And after a couple practices, we sat around. We're like, if we're gonna do this, we got to come up with a name. And so we're all, we're like 17, so we're sitting around saying the most just fucking treacherous things we can think of, like the most fucked up, horrible shit. And Mason says, "flesh hold," like threshold,
Oh,
But,
okay.
But we misheard him. Me and our old guitarist misheard him. We're like, you say flesh hole? Like, that's cool as shit. And he's like, yeah. Yeah, I said flesh hole.
That's
I'm like,
awesome.
Fuck yeah.
So that was it.
That was it.
A band was born.
Now we're
Yeah,
famous.
We needed
Yeah.
we needed a bassist, and we knew Cameron. And then we were like, we don't need a lead guitarist, but we need Derek in the band.
I actually started out. I wasn't in the band when they got their first show, so I decided to show up to their first show.
He was our
And it
number one
I knew
fan.
all the songs on guitar and everything. Like I'd come over and look at their guitar player. I'm like, that's simple. So like I would just play. I would come over and
He's
play
not
these
wrong.
riffs jokingly to them. I'm like, bro, look, I learned a Flesh Hole song. And then I come to their show and they're like, we need another guitar player. So
Wow.
I guess I fit that spot.
Number one
That's
fan.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's why he's the number one fan.
Yeah. Always.
yeah.
You used to argue with people on social media about it. Remember that day?
Literally, yeah. On Instagram, there was like a couple
Oh my
girls that
God.
were like, Flesh Hole. And I was like, literally go away.
I was here from the beginning.
That's awesome. You know, like the idea of just, like you said, 17 years old, sitting around throwing out the most absurd shit. But like when I listen to your guys' music, like especially, because like when I saw you perform live, it's hard to grasp. I saw 5 bands that night. It's hard to grasp everything that's going on. So I dove into, and I hadn't heard of you guys. I hadn't heard of Shih Tzu. I'm not familiar with much of the local like scene.
There's a lot to grasp at
There
one
is.
time.
Yes. U2 bands, and then I know Moose Collective because they used to be in Moose Lewis, and I recorded their first record in somebody's basement.
They're so good.
Yeah, and Hayden was singing at the time, so he had like a singer, and then he had a rhythm guitar and a bass and his drummer. But now it's just a jam band.
I
And
dig it as an instrumental.
I do too.
I do. It's really good. They did so good. Like, it
Yeah.
I
was-
saw them
crazy.
play. They played in the light that day. I think you guys did too. It wasn't dark yet. I saw them play in the dark 2 weeks ago at the rooftop downtown, the
Yes.
Arts Council.
Yeah.
It was way
It's,
doper.
it's probably a better experience because they got all the
It was.
lights and like the video cameras and stuff. going.
Exactly.
It's
And they had
super dope.
smoke going and they were just going hard. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. But the point of the story was, so I took all this in and had to come back and digest it. After I mixed everybody, and I could hear your lyrics. I'm like, what the hell is going on in here? So I had to really, and then I found the album and I was honestly blown away because my first thought typically is that when I see a new band I've never heard of, it's like a shitty bias. But my first thought is like, the record's gonna be shitty. Like they probably recorded it in their living room and whatever. And then when I heard it, I'm like, this is really good. Like how did they do this?
Thank you.
So I
Man,
jumped on
thank you.
Instagram and saw that you recorded at Rephrase, right?
Yeah.
In
Yeah, shout out to
Ohio.
Ron.
Shout out to Ron Pease, Rephrase Studio.
Ron Pease, yes. Okay, cool. I was doing some research on them. So you had Ron Pease. So today I thought it would be interesting if you guys took us through, so we know a little bit about the backstory, but like a little bit through writing those first songs. Did you play some shows? And then why choose like a nice studio to go to and not just record for free in some shitty basement?
So I'm really glad that you found us after we recorded the album because so
about the demo, Bryson.
the reason we chose a really nice studio, I'll start with that, is first of all, Mason found the studio, which was cool as shit.
How did you find it? Just Googled it?
I actually was going through Facebook and I've honestly like this when I was probably a year into the band, so only being 18, I actually clicked on his stuff and saved it on my phone because I looked his stuff up and he mixed, masters, produces, recorded himself, and it all sounded almost fake. It was like he was really trying to get some money off it, but I was like, we're just going to take a risk because, I mean, we're 4 shitty guys in a punk band. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? People not buy our stuff.
So
There you
so
go.
the reason we chose to go with the studio is because we had this really fucking terrible EP out that we didn't record in a living room. We recorded it in a bedroom on a Line 6
3
Spider.
times.
It's
Okay.
the complete opposite of what it's called,
It-
so be ready for this.
It was called Eat Your Teacher.
Oh,
And
Oh, I saw the name
Don't
Eat
ever
Your
play
Teacher.
that.
I saw it on the writing on what's the basement that you guys hang out in, or the room that you guys practice and shit. Is it a basement?
oh yeah, it's Cameron's basement.
Okay, because there's like videos there and pictures there.
Yeah.
There. So Eat Your Teacher, that stuck to me because I'm
Yeah.
actually a teacher. like my day job is teaching music, and then
Awesome.
sometimes
shit.
today I subbed somewhere, but that just stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I'm not like a teacher by trade. I'm just a music person, but you just have to have a music degree to be a music teacher. So that's how I
Yeah.
ended up there. But anyway,
Okay.
Eat Your Teacher was the
So,
original name.
It sounded like shit. It was an EP we recorded
We-
in our old practice spot.
Our work schedules were so bad. Like people got off at 2 a.m. and we
Our
were recording,
neighbors were pissed.
like cops called.
okay, that
like
makes sense.
super awful.
And we're
And
just trying to record it.
and we recorded it 3 times, and every time it got worse. And we still released it.
I think we were like so out of energy because we kept having like, we were learning how to record on something you should never learn how to record on.
What did you record on again?
A Line 6 Spider.
What is a Line 6
It's the
Spider?
worst possible amplifier you can put a guitar through.
So there is one thing I'm going to say about this. I had the most stressful 4 days of my life trying to get everybody at the right tone to do that because it was my amp at the time.
Okay.
So it would record guitar parts, but only guitar
The amp
parts.
itself has a recording function.
And mics.
Yes, but I had an
It shouldn't.
idea to where I was like, what if we plug the microphone cord up to it and then set the microphone in the middle of the room and record the drums in the background as
Yeah.
like another channeling track and then
Yeah.
just channel the guitar over it.
Yeah,
So
overdub it.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah.
dopest
so
part
was that it sucked.
But the
Yeah.
dopest part about that EP though is that we actually the first show we played after releasing it was in Chicago.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Yeah, it
believe
was
or
like a-
not.
You drove all the way up there to play after this EP
Terrible
came out.
EP. Yeah.
Hell of a promo.
Yeah, it was either after, like
Could've been
right
LA.
before, but actually, yeah, that's the thing is we released this horrendous fucking abomination. Everybody seemed to like it somehow, or they were lying to us. And but we were playing shows, right outside of Chicago and right outside of Nashville, and we knew that like our technical level, even though we weren't anywhere near where we're at the time, was like better than what we had out there.
Yeah.
And we're like, we have to do better than this. Like
Your
can do better
current
than this.
recording did not like reflect your abilities
at all.
Yeah. Okay.
At all. And I think also he said we recorded it like 3 times because, we were learning as we were going. So each time we were like, we can do better. So we would re-record. But the problem is we're running out of stamina quickly because we're tired of fucking sitting down for hours trying to record songs that we play 20 times a day on the worst amp you could possibly imagine. So by the 3rd time, we're just like, you could tell we're so low energy that it made it sound even worse.
And the earliest songs we actually wrote for the record, we actually played at our first show ever when we were 17. Some of those songs we knew they had potential. Like we
Okay.
actually purposely.
Did any of them evolve into what's on the current album?
Yeah. So Conspiracy Theory and Momo Chug, the actual
Oh,
title of the
sweet.
album.
Yeah.
We consider Momo Chug the first good song we ever wrote.
I think it's good.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Yeah.
Which who cares what I think, but I'm just letting you know.
So we wrote all those in the process of a house, a garage. Then we got kicked out of the garage because literally like 7 cop cars showed up and somebody almost
you were
went to
too
jail.
loud?
Yeah.
Well, because we got into an argument with a member of the sheriff department.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He somehow
Did that lead to another song?
we do have a
Sort
song.
of. We have a song called Scream.
Yes, that's what I was thinking
Yeah,
of. I
that-
left Fuchsia Fest thinking of that song because I don't know how you hear that song and don't leave thinking like, wow, that was actually like a really that's a memorable song. What the
Thank
fuck
you.
for? Like I can't you just you have that in your head because it's like how could you not hear that and
Right.
walk away with
And that was kind of the
interesting.
intention behind it was to make it kind of cheery and anthemy, and get stuck in people's
It's like
heads.
a riot. It actually feels like a riot anthem.
One day,
yeah, right.
One day.
Not yet.
Not
But
tomorrow.
why did you point to Cameron when I said
Because Scream actually, That song actually got
don't
birthed.
tell this.
Yeah.
We should hear it.
Scream was birthed 2 years before this band even started in Cameron's
This
bedroom.
shit goes deep, man.
And like we had this really terrible drum roll and like idea for it. And I remember we had one more space for a track on the album. And I was like, this song. Scream is going on this album.
And there was no riff. There was nothing. It was
all
the video
percussion.
is them banging on the drums.
Okay.
It was Mason on a drum set and me on two floor toms, just banging away and screaming.
But it sounded good.
There's no guitar,
I've never had
nothing.
any, at least drum wise, musical talent at all. And
There was passion and nothing else.
Yeah,
yeah. Hey, that's flesh hole, man. That's all it is.
That's awesome. That's not a bad slogan. There's passion and nothing else.
I was thinking of that. That's kind of cool.
So the first album or whatever, you play your show, the current EP, you think it sucks.
Yeah.
Well, you think that the sound sucks.
it
So
does
then
suck.
what? Like you guys have a powwow and you're like, we need to go to a nice place.
So
it's not cheap.
We
right?
had like 5 songs. We were gonna release an EP, and we kept adding more and more songs until it's eventually like, why don't we just release an album? We already have an EP out.
Forced
Let's just do an
Entry.
album.
Forced
Yeah.
Entry
Oh,
is-
Forced Entry is when
Yeah,
we
yeah,
realized it was
so-
gonna be an album. Oh my god,
I
this
came
is
up-
terrible.
Yeah, that song's scary.
So
Yeah,
So Derek's
Highly disturbing.
Yeah.
Derek's technically the primary like songwriter when it comes to like writing the guitar parts or like
Okay.
the riffs and stuff. And then we all kind of add things to it. I wrote like the intro to Forced Entry, that little spooky kind of thing. And that sounded boring by itself because we were like, we're a heavy band, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
And our old guitarist had this audio of a lady from literally a breaking entering into her
Supposedly.
house.
Yeah.
And we literally we put that over the riff and it fit. And we were like, oh yeah, this is
We turned all the lights off in the garage and just let it play. And we're
EPs.
like, hair's fucking standing up.
Dude.
And I'm like, okay, yeah,
E-
this is evil.
and
Like,
look-
this
Oh
is
my god.
evil.
It's so yeah.
EPs don't have intros. Albums have intros.
Yes.
Yeah,
and that
that's-
let us know.
That was when we realized
That's
like
good.
this has to be an album. And you know what? Like we like half the songs for that album we wrote within like weeks of going. I had lyrics that were not like finished at all when we went to Dayton to record. And like there's at least 2 songs on the album where like some of the things I said were not written by the time I was standing in front of the microphone.
Wow.
And
Does
so
that
it-
mean that they were improvised? Like it just came out of you?
I think
Stream of consciousness shit.
I know that Crossroads has one verse at least that was like I had to come up with on the spot, and there's one more, but I can't place it.
You know, I was thinking like Forced Entry. First of all, I skipped that song.
Actually, we
It's
looked
fucking
at
scary.
we looked at like the statistics and everything, and it's like not 75% of people leave, but 75% of the people that do leave at that song.
He
If
actually-
somebody stops our album, they stop it. There's a 75% chance that's where they turned it off
Bryson.
and said, you know what, fuck this.
Bryson, tell him that you got kicked off of that website because
Oh my god!
because
yeah.
of putting Forced
so
Entry on there.
I was part of this horror community, and I posted this. I posted our album because it's very horror driven,
Yeah.
and everybody's digging it. Like it's getting us a ton of like people clicking on it, and like I love this shit. I don't even listen to this kind of music, but like this is cool as hell.
Gotcha.
And I'm talking in like one of the public chats to this one person, and they're like, man, that intro was pretty intense. They're like, was that real? And I'm trying to be not. The thing is they say that it's real, but like they're training. It's used to train the 911 operators.
Okay.
So obviously they're not going to tell them it's fake. They want them to take the job seriously. They're saying like, you got to do this the right way, or someone will die. Basically.
Yeah.
So I'm like, trying to be all spooky and shit. I'm like, oh, it's totally real. This lady
Yeah.
was killed. An admin gets on while I'm having that conversation. And they're like, no, but seriously, is it real or not? And I'm like, I don't fucking know. I'm like, probably not, And they're like, well, probably not's not good enough. So we're gonna have to. They're like, you're gonna have to stop posting that, or you're gonna be banned. And they took down every single post of the album. And I'm like, can I share like individual songs? And they're like,
Rip
yeah,
Momo
as
Chug.
long as it doesn't link at all to the intro.
Interesting. But there's a book out called Your Music and People. And the guy who started CD Baby, Derek Sivers, he wrote the book. And it's a great book on how to market your music, like, personally. It's not a marketing book for, like, a giant... It's like Warner Music isn't going to read this probably. And
What's it called?
But it's a good DIY, like, good, like, do it yourself.
Yes, it's like starting from the ground up, how to connect with fans. It's called Your Music and People. But in there, he talked... And when I go through your guys' Instagram, for example, or read your... or listen to your record or see you in person, like, what he talks about in there is what I feel when I am around you. Like,
that's awesome.
As a band, like, whether that's personally or with your work. But what he says is, like, embody your spirit as a band. So, like, he said, like, what he would say, if you're like a really dark band who's about death and all this other shit, you should, in your emails, you should speak like that. Like, when you're communicating with people, you should speak like that. Like
live like it.
Like, live like it. Like, you don't actually have to fucking kill people, but
I mean, hope not.
like your
personality.
When you're in
Mason,
character,
you're about to have a deep personality change.
Yeah, like, when you're in character, be that character. You know what I mean? And because he was saying, like what is powerful now is niche. Like, if you're super niche and you're super, I think that's probably always been the case, but super original,
I think,
it's attractive as fuck.
Nowadays, there's, like, so many, like, subcategories of things that it's impossible for one person to appeal to everybody. You know, back in like the 70s, you could have Jimi Hendrix or Jim Morrison, and they could appeal to every single teenager in America almost. Yeah. But now everybody's so diverse in their interests that it's better not to try and appeal to everybody, but to find one specific group and appeal to them deeply, deeper than, Jim Morrison could have appealed to any single teenager in the 70s, like...
Right, because he represented, like, an archetype. Like, he represented, like, a type of person. But I think, like, now, like, for example, one of my friends... he's like 30, but he's always, like, starting new projects. And he sent me a song the other day. He's like, I have an idea for an album that is completely about Ham's beer. Like, it's just completely about hams. Perfect. And he's like, I want to put hams on the map. And he sent me it's like a surf rock album. He sent me the
perfect, though.
Dude, he sent me the first song. I'm like, this is great. And he's like, dude, I got more. It's just coming to me. I'm like that's what I would feel niche, is like, man. That is so, it's so niche that it's badass. And it comes to him so easy because it's like, there's no like serious, like fear about it or whatever that is, self-consciousness.
And even then, like, I feel like a lot of people in our generation have, like, an identity crisis where they intake from so many different subcultures, you know what I mean? That it's like 1 week they're going to be really into, like, math rock, and the next week they're going to be into, like, experimental noise, and they're going to completely encapsulate that for that short, brief period of time because they have no idea who they are.
It shows, like, small ideas where, like, they don't really have to have meaning in order for it to be a good idea, It's just whatever comes out of your brain, usually.
Yeah. And like, if you can make it coherent, which I think that's what you guys do well, it's like when I listen to your record and then when I see you in person, live show, and then when I go to your Instagram, it's very coherent. Like, the identity of Fleshhole is coherent. And it's really attractive to me. Like, I think that's what drew me in. Like, out of every band,
awesome.
And Shih Tzu's cool too. I haven't interviewed those guys, but I've talked to Gary a little bit.
Gary's a really cool dude.
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit on Instagram.
He literally drove this to my house just to get
really,
because he was like, he didn't want to wait to ship it. So I was like, that's dope. Shout out to Gary.
That is badass, and they are insanely loud.
Yes, they are way too loud. They need to turn down a little bit, but it's okay. It's a good band.
Okay, all right, let's go. So still, you have a shitty album out. Then where does Rephrase come in? Like, where does the decision to, like, take that to another? Because I feel like it could have been so easy to be like, who gives a shit?
So
it is what it is. But you guys clearly care more.
So before I, like, try to get sidetracked, so basically what ends up happening is that we plan to write an album at this point. This is right before COVID hits, okay?
Yep.
we start writing the record, COVID hits, blah, 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 people getting sick, et cetera, et cetera. We like FaceTimed together for like a couple months. We didn't see each other. We took the whole thing seriously. And then it was a kind of slow process. And we got together, wrote a couple more songs. And we realized at this point, everybody in our lives was in a very dark place. So the album obviously has a concept of horror, struggle, but that was really what was going on individually for all of us. And we all were like, this is the one bright part of our year, is this record. And we were like, we need to go out and spend the money on it. And I had Ron, on my Facebook, and I purposely went out and I asked him about, how we can do this, what do we need to do this, et cetera, et cetera. And he was beyond nice and cool and responsive, and he's worked with folk, jazz, country, hair metal. Like, he's worked with everybody. He's also worked with a band called The Breeders, which is like a platinum selling side band from the band The Pixies.
And it was their album too, like their big one that hit.
Yeah,
really weird.
So like he's really dope though. Like he's always about independent music too though.
Cool.
But yeah, what ended up happening is we just contacted him and we were like, hey, we have an album. We've never done this before. And we just need you to basically take us seriously as adults, but also maybe like put your input in. And he was never too pushy. He was just like, hammer it out, and it was the first time. And we slept in our cars,
For half
I
the
see.
time,
That's
yeah.
what I like. That's what. So, I don't know what this podcast is yet because it's pretty new. But I have not released anything. I'm just kind of building up a thing. But I think it's turning into this. Like, tell me about your project and how you built it. Like, how did you put this together? Because I think that's interesting. Like, you could talk all day about like what you guys believe and fucking blah, 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 blah. Like, who gives a fuck? But like, I want to know how you did it.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
Because especially when I'm like, what the fuck? When I turn on your album, I'm like, what is this? And I look a little bit into it. I'm like, damn, you guys really did it. Like you did the work. It's not. I'm sure. Okay, so he says, like, but did you get off the phone or whatever, off the message, thinking like, we need to get our shit together if we're gonna do this?
We were really nervous, dude. I mean, we had about a week before we went. We did not book any hotels. We did none of that. Some of the songs, honestly, Goat, Government Orgy, and Ambulance Taxi. Obviously, those are
Goat.
Yeah,
I never thought of that.
Obviously, those.
I love that song though. Man.
Exactly. Obviously, that's a fan favorite, and that was 2 songs, and one of those songs wasn't fully
wrote that.
It wasn't supposed to make the
Mason
album.
helped me that night.
Yeah, and like
which one?
so
Government
both of
Orgy,
them.
or?
Yeah. So basically, what I was,
technically both of them. The big one was Government Orgy that he helped me.
but they
with.
weren't supposed to be together.
No.
we literally put them together that night. Going to the
Yeah.
studio, we were
Gotcha.
I remember that. Yeah, because we were gonna do. I think which one we were.
we were
gonna
just gonna do Government Orgy, but it was like
Government
50
Orgy.
seconds.
And then Mason's like, we were in the hotel room. It was only I think me, Mason, and I think Derek was with us.
Yeah, because it was my
'Cause,
idea.
our old
'cause
guitarist and
we were thinking about
Cameron
cutting
were-
Ambulance Taxi, and I was like, no.
And Mason's like, what if we? He's like, this song is really powerful, but it's kind of short, and we're spending a lot of money on this. He's like, why don't we just like make this 2 songs into one?
And it is the best song on the
And
album.
we met them. We met them
awesome.
at the studio the next morning. Our old guitarist and Cameron, and we're explaining to them what the plan is, what the game plan is. And Derek and Mason are like, this is going to be the riff. Just play this. It'll be fine. And it was.
And it worked.
Wow.
But the cool thing about it is like, I was going to say this earlier about like fan bases and like, modernism and all that stuff, was that all of us have such chemistry with each other. Like, we've basically grown up essentially with each other without music as well. So like a lot of it is problem solving, This is all we have technically. Like
going for you.
Yeah, really.
Like,
honestly,
Yeah.
like, and I'm not embarrassed.
I understand.
And I'm not embarrassed to say that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that like are like, well, you definitely got to have a back burner. I try mentally not to leave room for failure because this is really all I have as a thing.
And what do you have at this point? What do any of you honestly have to lose? Like, do you have kids?
No,
I do. I've got a son. But
You do?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I do too.
I know that I feel
just had one.
like he would be more probably happy with me, you know what I mean? Like in that situation of like I succeeded versus my dad's a fucking burnout, you know?
Or didn't try.
Yeah.
That is like, as a young father, I just had a son. So, well,
Congrats.
Congrats, man.
thanks.
Congrats.
Yeah. So thank you. But I feel the exact same way. I'm like, I cannot commit to abandoning this
And
for the
Yeah.
price of like him growing up and be like, so you didn't ever try, like you didn't give for
and
it?
that's another thing. I don't want him to ever feel like, oh shit, like I'm the reason dad is fucking coming home sore all the time
Yeah.
From working.
and never gets off the booze, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, dude, these are real. Yeah.
No, I want him to, I want him to know that like I did it and I had him there with me while I was pursuing my dream and I didn't give up and I didn't give up for him. You know, I did this for him. I succeeded in my dream. You know, my whole life I've done this for me. You know what I mean? It's always been like, I want to do music for Bryson. I want to do music so that I can be happy and successful. And now I'm not just doing it for me.
Yeah, that's cool. So,
Thank you.
but still, that like, how old are you guys?
21. and
22.
22.
So you're in your early 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I feel like when you say I don't have a backup plan, it's like why have one? You know, like now's the time to be bold and to try. You know.
I was me and him always talk about like, well, if we don't make it, we're just gonna die before we're 30, I guess.
Yeah. Hey,
That's the mentality I guess you have to
Yeah.
have.
My goal is 27.
that's a good club.
Overrated.
I'm actually 27, so I'm.
Oh, don't die, please.
I actually
Yeah.
don't want to die now. At
That's
first,
good.
I thought I was like cool, but now I'm like, I actually don't wish that upon
once
myself.
you make it to 27, it's a whole different thing.
it's like, dude,
It's like, well, shit. When I was 21, it seemed pretty cool, but man, I've got months now. What?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So recognizing that like this isn't your plan B, this is your plan A. You actually put like your money where your mouth is. Like you actually did it right.
So when I knew that like I kind of signed up for this is when everybody else was getting beauty sleep while I stayed up for a whopping 36 hours because I couldn't sleep and then went straight to the studio and then recorded my parts. I did not sleep for that
Beauty
whole day
sleep,
either.
you fucking
Like,
no.
in
We
the
were
car?
sleeping in cars, and they wake me up at like 5 o'clock in the morning because I
Here
hear
we
Derek. Or no, I hear Mason and our old guitarist saying,
I don't smoke cigarettes, by the way. This is funny.
Derek's smoking a square.
I was so
Derek's
stressed.
smoking
I
a
was
square
stressed to
over
that
there,
point where I
man.
was like, I need to sleep.
And I'm
Okay.
like, Cameron and me both were woken up by that, but I didn't realize Cameron had been waking up. And I look over at him and I'm like, I'm gonna fucking kill them.
So the moment,
Like I'm going to kill them.
the question you were really asking, besides all that, the moment like we basically knew is what you said.
To go for it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the moment we knew that this was it, that this is what we got to do. I'm not even gonna lie. It was probably our last. It was probably Fuchsia Fest and our last Nashville show. So obviously we just went for the album. All this was just an experience I wanted to have. I didn't realize that this was becoming bigger than what I anticipated it to be. But we played in front of like 150 people at a house party in Nashville. And seeing 150 people jump to our songs
In a
that we
tiny
sat.
little
That's a
room.
lot of people in one small house, dude. That was
is.
It was scary as shit.
And we sat and wrote.
Did the house have a basement?
No.
no.
Oh, thank
So-
God.
It's literally called the kitchen because that's where you play.
Oh wow.
And we literally sat together after all of our shifts, after school, after everything, writing those songs
Yeah.
that are like, you know, to us was just kind of fun to brag to other friends about. And ended up being like people are traveling 45 minutes, an hour away to like see this local band.
Yeah.
That's always like the dream is like, we have fans. That's awesome.
See,
It's cool.
For me, it's kind of like the opposite because, like, right before, my whole life, I always knew what I wanted to do. At one point, I wanted to, be in architecture. I wanted to get into architecture. At another point, I want to do like SFX makeup or like, art, comic books or whatever. But right before Flesh Hole, we're all about to graduate high school. And I took like a deep look and I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I want to do. I'm like, I'm not good at anything. I'm like, I have no fucking clue what my next step is for the first time in my life, And we played that very first song, and even though it sounded like shit, immediately I'm like, all right, I'm like, finally, I'm like, this is it. I gotta hold on to this shit because this is the only chance I have.
Yeah.
And so that was when I decided, like, yep, I'm gonna have to make this work. Let's do it. I actually I was never like a musician. I still don't consider myself a musician, but back in I'm telling this story, Mason. Back in freshman year,
Did you hear that, Mason? I was telling it.
We were me and Mason were working on a project together, and
project?
No, just like a school project.
School project.
I was like singing to myself because that was just something I did back then. And Mason looks at me and he's like, man, he basically, like, this isn't like a verbatim, but he basically just looked at me. He's like, man, you sound like shit, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna have to get really good at guitar, and I didn't do that either. So, a couple years later, and now he's playing drums in the same band that I'm doing vocals.
Yeah, I'm playing in the back of the stage, and he's to the front.
So I guess I improved a little bit,
dude. But okay, like something that just came to my mind was recently, for some reason, I was listening back to Eminem's first album.
Oh yeah.
So and I don't know why. I have no idea.
It's just totally related.
but then I listened to a few more after that, so what just came to my mind was like, I think the same thing that attracts me to his music attracts me to yours.
We are Eminem.
But what I mean by that is
we're rap gods.
Not yet. But what I mean by that is like the themes and like Eminem is in my opinion, a great storyteller. He embodies his characters. Well, fuck. There's one song that I'm thinking of where he sings in like a Middle Eastern accent. What's that? Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Ass like that.
It is ass like that.
Hey, there you go.
Eminem.
Dude, and when he does, I'm just listening to the album, like, dude, when he does it, I'm like, this is so fucking good. Like, he embodies the character so well. And there is a inkling of that. But I also think it is because of the commitment to the character that, like, you portray, but then the music sets a background for. That it's like, you can actually portray these things. There's one song, I don't even know if I wrote it down. Okay, for example, A Bump in the Road, like the Nuclear Fallout song.
Oh, Bump in the
Night.
Bump in the Night, sorry.
No, you're good.
It's fine. We couldn't figure out the name either when we wrote it.
A Bump in the Night.
It had 3 names.
Was A Bump in the Road?
It was A Bump in the Night, Hiroshima, and
1945. The song isn't that good to have 3 names.
No, it's not a 3 name.
But when I
kind
think
of song.
about it, like when I listened to it last night again, I'm like, the theme is so like tight, and then there's the sound effects. Did Ron Pease throw the sound effects?
He told me.
There were a couple things, like, I had lists, and I still, even for like our future work, when we write a song, I'll know just by listening to it if I want to add effects or like gang vocals or anything to my voice.
Production.
Yeah, I'm immediately thinking about like what I want to add. Because they do all the instrumentation, so I want to think about like what sound effects and vocal effects I want to add. So I had lists for each song of all the effects. And I'm like, Ron, I need a plane, like a B-52 bomber. I need the sound of an explosion. I need my voice to sound like I'm on like a mega, like an intercom.
Bomber.
Yeah.
I need a siren.
Yeah, and I need a siren, a siren going. I'm like, I need all those things in this song. He's like, okay. He's like, fine, and he just does it like immediately, like without hesitation. And I'm like, that's exactly what I had imagined in my head. There were a couple songs though where he would actually come in and add effects, because he just thought it would sound good.
Oh yeah, it was actually, I think the coolest one.
Miss.
Yeah, I think the coolest one was like, I felt like Forced Entry wasn't scary enough, which is definitely an understatement. But I was like, add wind in the beginning, and it just made the difference. I was like,
and the ocean. Don't forget about the
ocean waves.
Yep.
I could hear those.
It's supposed to be a bipolar opposite of the song, basically. Everything in the background
This very
is
calm
supposed to catch you as like,
ambience.
yep.
It's yeah, that is so dark to have like a beautiful scene and then a murder going on.
It shows how real. It should have like kind of showed how real like everything like this could happen.
Also,
Yeah,
the recording was like super, like dirty, like because it was recorded on a phone.
Yes.
Supposedly.
Yes.
But he cleaned up the audio so you could hear like everything happening way more clearly. Like obviously it still doesn't sound clear, so it's probably hard to imagine that it sounded worse than that. But like you could really hear what she was saying now, and I'm like, oh, shit.
It's all audible.
And yeah, so that was
Ron did great.
also I do want to say like a little aside. So the very end of the album, or I guess technically the end, on the end of the album, if you like, I think on Bandcamp we have the bonus song or whatever that you get if you buy it. Mason doesn't want to talk about that, but
Yeah,
at
Smegma is the song that reminds me of Eminem, by the way.
yeah, I'd believe that. So right before that song is like the official closing of the album, and I forget, what did we call that?
Pigpen.
It's called Foul Play.
Foul Play, yeah.
Okay.
So the piano, Mason, we did not plan to do that. Mason saw a piano and he's like, "Can I play this, Ron?"
The black grand piano. Was it the black
Yes.
grand piano?
Yeah. He's like, "Hey Ron, can I play this?" And he's like, "It's out of tune, but sure." And so he recorded the exact same notes or whatever.
It was the guitar
too.
part I did in the beginning, but just on the piano.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Okay. Sweet.
Yeah, so that's cool.
But yeah, that song, we get a lot of people telling us how fucked up we are because we put that intro in
I
the
like
album.
to put it in perspective about the last song, about how he wrote like the piano part for the guitar part as well at the end. I like to keep it like as like, what if the album is an endless loop?
Yeah, no, that's
Like
great.
it never stops.
Dude, that's like when I first listened to it too, I'm like, oh, you have like transitions and then like Flesh Hole, I think his song's called like Flesh Hole 1 or something.
Yeah.
Like that's like kind of an interlude type, like an interlude type thing. And like that to me, like that I love albums that have those like skits, interludes,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call
exactly,
those. Like
yeah.
they're basically theme pieces that give you context to the rest of the music.
Yep.
All right,
Like it doesn't have to be, in
It's
my
like-
eyes, like a concept album doesn't have to be.
I always looked at discographies for artists almost like a book series. It's
Yeah.
kind of like, how are you
Right.
going to go to the next novel
Yeah.
in the best way?
Your album is definitely not just a compilation of tracks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I had 50 tracks, I chose 10. That's
Yeah.
definitely not. And I really enjoyed that. Like, I'm a fan of those types of albums. I love Kendrick Lamar, for example, because of his
Super good.
ability to do that thematically.
Yeah.
All right,
Similar
first
vibe.
Eminem and then Kendrick Lamar.
Look,
we're gonna
Kendrick
have to,
Lamar is-
we're gonna
I
have
am
to start a
dropping
rap
some
career,
fucking
man.
names
No,
here.
Kendrick Lamar is really, he's got it going though.
Bryson, you got to start rapping on the next album.
Absolutely not.
Damn.
So you mentioned gang vocals, something that's pretty present on your record, almost like sometimes a call and response.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so does that come from a style of music that you like,
So-
or you just like imagine this shit?
It is really present in like, especially like crossover thrash or
Iron
thrash,
Reagan.
hardcore punk, and that's really the big one we got it from would be like Iron Reagan and Municipal Waste.
They're like just
They
really
do it constantly.
I would say the Beatles because
But a
there's
lot of-
5 people.
All right, well,
And they all
he
do,
would say the
they all
Beatles.
do
Sure.
notes and
I
quartets.
guess.
It's fine. We can
But,
we can drop
we-
another legendary
we
album right now.
There's also like a lot of oi punk bands from back in the day would have the gang vocals and stuff like that. Street punk would have it, and we don't really have that sound, but I at least listen to a lot of that music.
Okay.
And I'll hear like a part of the song and I'm like, it almost becomes like too much. I don't think it's too much, but I think everyone else thinks it's too much because I'll pick out like almost every single song. I'm like, we could have gang vocals in this, a little gang vocals for a treat,
A
and,
little sprinkle.
yeah.
But I enjoy them, like especially like on Momo Chug.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome, in my opinion. Conspiracy Theory.
Yeah, that one's supposed to be another like call and response to the crowd, kind of like
Yes.
Scream was.
Scream, same thing. Yeah, I think it actually, like completes the thought. You know what I mean? And it makes me feel like I'm there, like at the whatever, you know, at the show, at the event, whatever is going on in the song makes me feel like there's like an extra layer of life.
Yeah.
So like in the studio, what was it like? You laid down, then we overdub all of you.
Pretty much, yeah. We would all. I would go in, do the vocal parts, and then I'm like, okay, Ron, this is where I want gang vocals to be, and he's like, okay, and we'd all head in there, stand around a microphone, and just yell the part. You know, he'd play it, we'd hear it in the headphones, and I would like look at them to make sure they knew like this is where we're gonna do the gang vocals. All right, okay, let's go. You know,
Yeah.
and then we'd all do it.
Okay, so sticking to the building the album part, we're at the studio now. You can fucking sleep it in your cars. You load in. Are you guys excited, nervous? You're in a real studio.
I was
The
probably
studio's pretty
happier.
sick, dude. I've checked it out on Google Images.
It was fucking
Blown
crazy.
away.
I
Had to be.
was when we walked in. You know, I didn't have low expectations at all.
I felt like we should be disappointed in ourselves playing at a studio that nice.
You don't belong here.
I think one thing is it set us up in a really bad way to be like totally fucking bummed out if we ever went anywhere else.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what to think because
Yeah.
Mason was always the musician. Mason and Derek to me were always the musicians. I still do not consider myself a musician. I never was involved with this kind of thing before I met them. And so I'm not expecting to
And-
walk in and see this
and-
shit.
and what
And it's like a
Bryson's-
fucking cathedral
Yeah.
to me.
And
you
what
know,
Bryson's teasing to is the fact that this is our first album and the quality, okay? I'm not going to talk
Right.
about the songs, but the quality of the album sounds pretty tight for like 3 years as a band out of high school. I am very nervous to top that.
I was like probably happier than I've ever been, like with that whole experience. Like just at that point at least, you know, like at that instant, everything else in my life that's happened up until that point is like not shit.
But see, I think that is such a awesome like side effect, byproduct of going to a nice studio is like it just boosts morale. Like
It does.
boosts like
Yeah.
your inspiration. Like
Especially when you've been sleeping in your car and then you walk into this
Yeah.
nice warm building.
Yeah,
and it's beautiful.
it's like wooden floors.
Yeah.
No,
Or
bro, he
floors
had
at all,
carpet.
really, yeah.
He had carpet floors.
He had,
Not wood
it was wood floors in the recording part.
The
wasn't
live
it?
room.
He had a
Yeah.
couch, instead of a car seat.
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah, there's a car seat.
So how many days were you there?
5.
Technically,
Whoa.
we recorded for 4 of those.
Fifth was set up.
Fifth was actually like us just kind
He
of
basically
getting there
mastered
and
them.
sleeping. I think, right?
So what I don't think you guys might know this, but like what he does is that he does a 6-7 hour session with us, and then when we leave, he probably stays there till 10 or 11, actually producing the track.
Mix-
So that's
Mixing it.
technically the
That's what I
fifth.
figured he did.
Yeah,
I kind of had a feeling
The-
because he gave us the physical copy in our hands to leave with, and I
Oh
played
my
that shit
God.
the entire.
Dude, that
yeah,
is so impressive.
yeah,
Holy
and I
shit,
played that
just
shit
made
the
me
whole
wanna,
way
like,
home.
Lift my
but
game.
it wasn't totally it wasn't totally finished. Like he still had to send us the digital.
The cool thing is though
Okay.
is that he I was communicating with him as we had it, and I was just talking about like going through certain online things to release the music, and he was like, "Hey, actually, I found a couple parts to tweak. You mind if I send you a second masters if you just want to go over it?" So he was like still working on it just because he like was like working on our music,
It's awesome.
and it was dope.
and I mean, he's been doing that for decades. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it was like, I don't know shit about any of this, but with the studios we talked to beforehand and all that, like when he just handed us the album right there, I'm like, is this the album? He's like, everyone's like, yeah, man, that's the album. I'm like, are you sure that's the album?
Yeah.
Like if I put this in my car's radio, I'm gonna hear like the album, and they're like, yeah. You're
You know
gonna
what?
hear it.
I heard
it was
the-
just crazy. To
I heard
me.
the car
Yeah.
test is the best test to do though
Yeah.
as a band,
where
is because
everyone
that's where
listens to
everyone's
music.
listening to it.
Yeah.
Right. And now like earbuds are a common thing that people mix
And
for.
it sounds so good.
Because of that, I mean, you're gonna like a lot of people listen in earbuds, like the little tiny ass speakers,
Yeah.
mixing. But
Yeah.
okay, so that is insane. That is like the thought of him working with you all day and then you leaving and him finishing the music is an awesome like homage to Ron Pease.
Yeah, dude's been doing it since the 70s.
It's great.
So it's
And
wild.
So when you left there, from like the version that you left with, from the finished version that you posted, is it the same or is there the edits?
It's there are the edits. I think.
Yeah, I think the only difference is maybe like volume quality. Like it's not even like the sound or anything. It was just like he was like, hey, like, you know, I turned this up, or
Okay.
maybe turn Cameron's bass up or something, you know, like along that kind of line.
Did like when you're in there tracking, did you track as a live band or did you track into?
Yes, we did. So I've always been known to track separately when I would record things. And the craziest thing is my dad, before we goes, he was like, if he was a real producer, he would track you as a live band to get the chemistry. Because my dad, you know my dad. But anyway, the point is,
I actually don't.
you would know my dad if you saw him.
Okay.
Because he just looks like him. But
I got him
anyway,
in my head now.
But anyway, he
Yeah.
was like, he was like, yeah, I think we get the best sound as a live band, because he always used Led Zeppelin as an example.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And I was like, awesome. And I know Cameron loves that because he feels better with
When we were recording that garbage EP,
Yeah.
I was so stressed out for it, not because of just my thoughts of lack of ability of playing, but it was just the fact that it was just Derek operating the recorder.
Yeah, the amp.
And I was just playing my bass parts, and I was like, I feel like I'm doing this wrong every time. And he's like, no, you're good, dude. I'm like, I can't tell, because we couldn't listen to any of the other parts because it was just on a shitty amp.
I'm gonna be honest, I was lying to all of y'all.
You just wanted to get
Yeah.
the damn thing done.
Yeah, it was very stressful.
But whenever we got there and Ron was like, he was talking to Mason about it. I think I was unloading our gear from the car, and Mason was like, all right, so we're recording this together as a live band. I was like, I am no longer nervous.
Yes.
It was a great weight that was lifted off my shoulders.
And
That makes sense, man.
it's so cool because he just clicks and goes. Like he's like, hey, did you feel good? Do you feel any kind of good? Do that again. Do that again. You know, and like there was a time where I was very tired. Like there was a song that we were playing that I was obviously,
Crossroads.
yeah, I was obviously messing up a lot in the drums. And he was like, come back tomorrow. He's like, come back tomorrow, get some sleep, actually get a hotel.
Did you?
Yeah, we did. We did.
Oh, good.
We did
Good
a
deal.
couple nights.
I paid for it because I said I was not going to sleep in a car again.
Yeah.
No, we stayed at an Airbnb, remember?
Yeah,
That was the last few days.
the last
yeah,
day.
you're
Yeah.
right.
Because we slept in cars the first night, stayed in a hotel the second night, didn't like the hotel because the owners were sketchy, left, slept in the cars again the third night, and then I was like, guys, I'm not fucking doing this again. I was like, I'm going to find us an Airbnb
He said
right
the back
now.
problems will be the death of me. In this
Well, it's just so miserable. I hate fucking not being
You only
able to
get
sleep
like
properly.
2
Yeah,
hours
dude.
of sleep in a car.
Yeah.
Really, like that's what you get.
And think about
wait-
you spend all this money and energy getting yourself to this badass studio. You wake up fucking all out of whack, and then you barely slept.
The best part about sleeping in a car while you're recording is you
Is
can
nothing.
Tell, is you can tell people afterwards.
That you
Man, we fucking slept in cars when we
Bragging
were out of
rights.
Great
town
story, yeah.
recording.
And it's even more of a relief to find out that you actually did have a couple nights of decent.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
This is the best nights I think we've all had.
the second night though was great because we just got really drunk.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, we got drunk. Okay, so we parked at a rest stop, and then we all got alcohol and sat in the parking lot, just chilling,
It was
blaring
a-
music, getting drunk.
Dude, it was a 9/11 memoriam parking lot.
Yeah, we were just out there
rest
getting lit.
stop
Wow, dude.
slash rest stop. Yeah.
Well, that was the
the
third
first
night
one was
then.
like the first one was
Oh my god, that
it was like
Love's
it was
gas
like a
station.
Pilot or Love's, yeah, something like that. You know, one of the like diesel truck rest stops.
Perfect.
They had a
But
dog park too.
yeah, we took Derek on walks regularly, and the car thing it sucked.
it sucked.
Yeah, it sucked. It was miserable.
So you check as a live band. Did you lay double guitars?
Yeah,
So yeah, we
Okay.
kind of did do that for a lot of the feel. We wanted to add a lot of most of the filler in for most of the guitars because, I mean, with how like guitars being recorded every day nowadays, it's weird to kind of get a guitar and do an album nowadays because you know it's not just it's more about tone.
Yeah.
When it comes to like
So
coming to the guitar.
You double the guitar, then on some songs you play
A third
like
time.
a third melody.
Yep.
Yep.
Actually, there's another thing too about like the guitar tracking is the solo on.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
this
is
is my
it?
favorite.
What is the
Postmortem?
postmortem? Yeah.
You played it.
I played the solo because yeah, because they kept Bryson was like, Derek, you're gonna fucking do a solo on that song because it
I
doesn't
left the
sound
spot
good without
open
it."
on
Yeah,
purpose.
I didn't do that.
for a
He,
solo.
he did great. Mason made
Yeah, I
it
didn't do
That's
that.
very
awesome.
good.
I noticed the solo because it's the only solo, right?
Solo, literally
Yeah.
the
Like the only
one.
actual solo on the whole.
Well, we
record.
had a rhythm guitarist at the time, so Derek's whole purpose in the band was to be a
I was
lead
like,
guitarist.
no, I'm gonna
and he
chug.
said, "I'm not going to be a fucking lead guitarist. I'm going to be a second rhythm."
I was like, caveman, go chug.
Yeah.
Shade man.
And so I kept telling him for months, like before we recorded this, damn near as soon as we started writing it, I was like, all right, I'm leaving this part open. It sounds cool. It's not like a vocal part. This has to be a solo. I'm like, now's your time to shine, Derek. Like, write a fucking solo for this song. I said I want it to be creepy and like sad, you know?
Uh-huh.
And he's like, all right, bro, I got you. He's like, I'll do it.
Never happened.
Never. So the day we're in the studio, I'm like, Derek, you ever write that solo? He's like, man. And Mason's like, let me go in and see if I can figure something out real quick. So he goes in and does it first fucking try. And I'm like, all right, Mason, your lead guitarist, Derek on drums.
It worked good enough, and like I made it not too much, and I made it like the thing is though is like, never mind. I was
I think it fits. I mean, I'm glad that was
Yeah.
the creative decision to not have solo. I don't think your songs need. You don't necessarily come off as that band. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I work with like a young group of guys, and they kind of have like a classic rock sound.
Mm-hmm.
Every song has a solo, but it fits their style
Yeah.
because that's like their style. you
Exactly.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really do solos very often.
Less-
but for
yeah.
that song
Less
specifically.
is sometimes more for
Yeah,
some stuff.
I
yeah.
think so. So this is like a technical question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember? Did he mic your guitar amp? Did he? First of all, did he mic it?
Yeah.
So, with how like the amps and everything went, he actually had Marshall stacks up there, Mesa Boogie stacks.
Yeah.
So we didn't really have to like bring anything besides our guitar. We actually did one problem and not bring pedals up there. So, but it's kind of weird that we didn't bring pedals. It was almost like something was telling us was like, let's make this as original as we can
Super
because
raw.
there was
Yeah.
never, like back
I like
then there
raw.
wasn't
Yeah, so-
like many pedals out like back
Yeah.
then for guitar effects, and was like that's how it kind of fits as real. But no, he had amps himself and
But
stuff, so he had us
ye-
plugged up.
So yeah, he mic'd his amps.
Yeah.
So when he mic'd your amps for the rhythm parts, when he did it for the rhythm parts, did he mic it differently for the other parts? Did he change the mic position?
Not entirely, I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, a lot of how it went down was like we just kind
Volume.
of we volume, and we tried to play over the track and just try to match it as much as we can.
Cool.
He also had like some effects that it was built in that didn't sound too like I don't know, watery, like generic. Because
Yeah.
sometimes like built-in effects
He added
can be
his good
generic.
touches into
Like
it.
you mean built into the
Like the
amp?
computer, like the
Oh, okay.
interface or
Yeah.
whatever he was using at the time. Yeah, so like I think that's what like the postmortem solo has a little bit of like, not like
echo or something?
yeah, like reverb or whatever is put on it, but
It all fits, man.
we do really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Okay, so I think you pretty much answered my question about being involved in the mixing. He did a lot of it when you weren't there.
Yeah, no.
I think he did some of it when we weren't there, but for like there were definitely times where we'd be in the
the mastering at the end
room.
was we probably were involved because dude, we were very burnt out. Like
I can imagine.
we were
I
like
can't
Yeah,
actually imagine. But
actually,
every day.
I can
so
try to imagine.
obviously I did my parts last because I was on vocals, and for their parts I was like staying in the room the whole time, and like I'm watching them through the the recording area, and I'm digging it the whole time. I'm watching them playing. I'm like, man, my band, they're so fucking talented, and so I do my vocal parts, and I'm like taking a breather to go like listen to what's been going on, and how I sound, and I walk out. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna ask them if I did good on that part. Like, I need to make sure I sounded all right. And I get into the booth, and I'm like, where the fuck is my band at? And I'm like, hey, Ron, where are all the guys at? I need to ask them about this track. And he's like, oh, they're all playing foosball in the front.
Yeah, the foosball table was
So
legit.
there's one thing I do want to mention about the record.
It's actually really funny.
So I got pressured into actually. What's weird? I should have said this earlier. You were talking about Flesh Hole 1, like the bit song. So what's funny about that is I got pressured into making that song right when we're in the studio.
Yeah.
Right there. They were like,
yeah.
Oh yeah,
we're gonna do this track.
we
So you
paid-
need to do this in 30 seconds.
Yeah, we said
30
we wanted
seconds.
to. We paid for.
we
15.
paid for 15 tracks,
We
and
had
we only showed
14.
up with 14.
Okay.
And we
And
were like, we're not gonna ask
we-
for money back.
We always wanted to have. Actually, what it was is because we combined those two songs, we ended up with 14. So that's actually what happened. We combined those two songs one night,
I see.
and so we ended up
You
with
went
14
with
instead of 15.
technically, but
Exactly.
yeah.
And we always wanted to have like a 30-second song that was just like goofy, you know. And so we all went to Derek, and we're like, hey, Derek, like we got a little project for you.
He did it,
and
though,
we're
man.
figuring out. I helped him write like one of the parts of the riff while
Yeah.
they were all setting up or doing whatever they were doing. But the I think like the main intro was what I was like helping him come up with, and then he came up with the rest of it him completely by himself. And I was just like, I'm just gonna yell "Fear the Flesh" over and over again. And so we actually were like, hey, we should name this Flesh Hole 1, and then the next album should have Flesh Hole 2, and then Flesh Hole 3. We should just keep running with this.
Don't go past Flush Hole 3. We don't know.
Yeah, we don't want to
Might
give
get
them
that
any
one.
hints.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
Marketing.
So I want to just I want to say a couple comments that I have that I like. These were thoughts that came to me after listening to your record and then going to the gym and listening to it again while riding a bike, because I feel like the gym's a great place to think. So I listened to your record that night, go to the gym the next day, listen to it again on the bike. So I'm just going to tell you, I felt like I had all these in my notes on my phone. I'm like, I should share these because it's good to get feedback.
Oh yeah.
So I think. So first comment, great workout music. Second comment, funny lyrics, very informed, great delivery. Who writes?
I actually write. I get help for a lot of the songs. Like I said, he helped me with Government Orgy literally the night before we went to record.
He's
'cause I
the
was
visionary. Like
terrified.
so, it's
Yeah.
kind of cool. We kind of bring him we bring him a skeleton, and he just puts the muscle on it basically.
So
Puts a theme
like
and,
like I
like, all
said,
this.
like I
And a
don't
flesh.
consider myself a
Gives
musician.
it
Like
flesh.
Trying to
like
avoid that.
I don't consider myself a musician, but I consider my talent is like
the dude's an artist.
doing and saying
Yes.
things that make people feel. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
that's
Like
awesome.
I like to draw out empathy, and like even like positive empathy, negative empathy, it doesn't matter. But
Yeah.
I think that I'm good at that instead
Yeah.
of like the musical side of it. So I come up with like a lot of it. I'll come up with like I'll either do it immediately or it'll take fucking months. Like I will like there have been songs
Classic.
there have been songs that we're working on that like I would not write. Like I was just so fucking stubborn. I would not figure out what to do with it for like the whole months as they're like forming these songs. And then one practice I'm like, man, I've really got to write some lyrics for these songs. So I just kind of took a little bit to sit down, and I'm just like typing away while they're writing. Like my fingers are fucking on fire because every single song I'm like, I'm gonna just write the lyrics right now. Like I'm just gonna get it all done. And I wrote like 4 songs that night, the lyrics for them, like there, because I didn't feel like doing it the several months before that. I'm a total procrastinator, but I like you know, I've never been like a poetry guy, but I kind of consider it poetry, you know, because I think poetry is more about like making people feel than like the actual like spoken word.
Yeah. And I think that's like that is one thing. I think that a lot of, I don't want to just categorize local bands as a thing, but I think like that's one thing that does make you guys stand out as well. Is
you.
like the coherent stories and like even Smegma, it's like fucking cringy for me to listen to, but I enjoy it because of that. Because I'm
Yeah.
like, there's no denying that this is not tight. Like this is a tight theme. Like this
Thank
is,
you.
it's like watching. I don't know. I don't know, but it's like watching something that's hard to watch. But it's like, but I can't deny that they didn't do it really well. Mm-hmm. Whatever that thing
appreciate
is.
that.
So
NASCAR.
That's like
NASCAR,
that is the like best compliment
they
you could
created
possibly
racing.
give to Smegma. Like you can't say
NASCAR.
like, wow, this is a phenomenal masterpiece of like a brilliant. It's like it's very tight. It's got a very tight, cohesive thing.
Exactly.
It's the joke song.
It is
And I
definitely
really
it
feel
is
that.
definitely about dick cheese. Like that.
Right.
If
No
I had
denying
no
that.
denying that, yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, it is?
Okay. Okay. So I got on your YouTube. There's one video. There's more to come, supposedly.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, let me just say this. If you play more live show, this is again. I didn't type this up to tell you today. This is back then. This is me being like putting on my producer hat and like my music hat. If you play more live shows and create more videos like that one video, you'll create context, like cultural context, for which your music can lift you up. Like, as in, if I'm somebody like I was that night, I probably would, if you would have had 40 videos of you guys fucking off, they're funny videos. I can tell you guys are funny. I knew you were funny from watching the videos. Like, your chemistry's funny. Your eyes are redder than fuck, you know, like it's just like there's so much.
I was so red in that video for no, like I just got done drumming. And
Mason is straight edge, but he's always fucking tired.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Like my thought was, I had my own thoughts, but the point was, I
Mostly
liked you
straight
guys
edge.
after watching that. I thought, man, if there was like up next on my YouTube and it was another video of you guys hanging out, I would have watched it. And I would have probably, because like
we really got to get on that.
Yeah, that was like months ago, and we're like, we'll upload next week.
I think
I know how it goes. That's
Yeah,
why I'm saying.
yeah.
I know.
See,
I think a lot of it.
Yeah. Do you have to piss? Can you just go outside and piss on the side of the house? That's all the artists do.
All right.
And the door's
Don't wanna
hard.
say nothing.
The door's hard as hell to pull, so just yank on that.
All right.
Just twist the knob.
Hey,
but
we're
yank
doing
on
a
it.
podcast here, so let's be quiet.
bro, if we can hear you piss from in here, I'm gonna be furious.
I think
Oh,
like,
there's a window right here too, so we'll see. So try to go between the windows, unless you want to.
I agree though. The videos are super fun to do. We have a bunch of material to make videos. I think it was just because right after that we went through this like kind of patch. Mm-hmm. It's always like, you ever get those like
a dry patch.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
a consistency, like what is going on to make this not what it was, and then it becomes what it is again. Like right
and,
now,
like,
Sure.
And ever since we kind of got out of that patch, you know, because we always manage to pull through. But like ever since then, we've been so focused on a big surprise, you know, that like we don't really like we're totally focused on that right now, which we've talked about this. Like me and Mason especially will come to practice with fucking a list of things. It's like, this is what we're going to talk to the guys about this week. And that's like almost always on the list, is like, we've got to figure out this video shit, because our two ideas are like a mixture of like vlogs and like skits.
Yeah.
Because like
I think you could nail those. Because
Yeah,
you're funny
and-
people.
Thank you.
Your
And
chemistry's even funnier than you
we've
individually.
always had like
I bet it wasn't not offensive. But
now it is.
it's like you guys ain't that funny, but together you
You're
might
hilarious.
pass a little bit.
Yeah, Mason, I actually don't like you.
But we've always, like, outside of music, like, we've all like Jackass, especially like Mason and Derek. They do it even when there's not a camera on. They will act like they're in an episode of Jackass. It's just in their personality. And, you know, I've always really liked like old short movies on YouTube and stuff like that. Ever since I was a kid, I would just go watch that stuff. And so like we've had ideas for like a decade in our own lives of like, I want to make this, you know, and I feel like as like a band, it kind of gives us an outlet to kind of combine like our different types of artistic drive and like tightly wrap it together, you know, and hopefully carry the same fan base to both, or maybe even bring in a new fan base from one to the other. You know, any amount of things could happen from it.
Absolutely.
We just actually have to record some material.
Dude, you say Jackass, and I'm not kidding. Yesterday I was thinking, I listened to music, I thought of Bam Margera.
Bam Margera's the manager to this band.
That's probably why I thought of him. I literally was saying, I'm like, he would love like Momo Chug or something for a theme song of his album or of his show. That's just what I think of.
Oh, Bam Margera.
Okay, so I also say creating an album is no small feat, and doing it well is even more challenging. So I commend you guys for a solid first album.
Thank you.
Super
Thank you.
thanks.
Skits are a nice touch. We already talked about that. Your album feels very street cool, like it would be liked by skaters. Some of it reminds me of Tony Hawk Pro Skater from when I was a kid.
That's the highest fucking form of compliment that you could possibly give.
Wouldn't every band want to get one song on Tony Hawk Pro Skater?
My God.
Like back in the early 2000s?
At least one, man. Like I wish our whole album could be on a fucking Tony Hawk game, you know.
Yeah.
And they're which one did they just remaster? They just remastered one of
the two first Pro Skaters. But yeah, we actually would literally practice, eat shitty Taco Bell, then go skating until
or even sometimes we'd play Tony Hawk games, or like we'd play Skate or like Tony Hawk's American Wasteland on PS2, and it's like, listen, Tony Hawk, you're probably not listening to this, all right? But we would love to be featured on a game, any game.
And he says, I have zero input to my game soundtrack.
I was about to say, I don't think he's involved at all.
I put my name on the front.
The crew behind the Tony Hawk soundtrack.
If Bam Margera is listening to this.
Yeah, the music supervisor. The same thing I said to Tony. Just do it, all right? Get us on.
Okay, so I have one more question, and we've hinted at it, but what is the goal? Like, what are we doing? Like, with your music? Like, as a group, what do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do? You want to be a touring band? Do you want to make albums for the rest of your life? Like, what is the dream of Flesh? What's the Fleshhole dream?
I'm only going to speak for what I can for all of us, because that is the hardest thing to do, is because even though that we've all known each other for a while now, people change. People have different priorities.
Yeah.
He's got a child. Some of us got bigger jobs. I think as of now, we want to keep this as consistent and progressive as possible. If progressive is either one, playing 2 shows a month, or to making a living off of it, keep going up the ladder, whatever that is. And the thing is, you know, when me and him were 13 in middle school, we've always wanted to tour with bands that we grew up on, be in arenas and stuff. Now, I would just love to play in front of 1,000 people and just pay rent.
Yeah.
You know, because that's just what I would love to do. And doing that with your 4 best friends, 5 best friends, you know, just touring the world, playing and just hearing somebody go like, I love that one fucking song on that album.
Yeah.
That's enough.
I heard that album on the remastered Tony Hawk game.
Yeah, exactly. But I think to speak for all of us as much as I can is that sticking together and doing what we love the most, and that is hanging out and playing music that we love to play. That's really all it is. There's nothing more than that, because in the beginning, do you really do this for fans you don't have? You do it for yourself, and then it kind of becomes a family and fans and a structure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I don't know if I can speak on an end game. I know it's important to always have kind of a final destination in mind so that you can get there. But it's more like you're climbing up a ladder and hoping to fucking God there's another bar to hook up onto. And I almost feel like as much as we've talked about Momo Chug, listening, maybe it's because I've listened to it so much, it almost feels like there's something missing, you know what I mean? And that drives me, because I feel like as long as I think there's something missing in what I create, I'll keep on creating.
There's more to be done.
And all, like, as far as myself, I want to take care of my son, and I want to hopefully, you know, at least get enough food that I don't pass away.
Mm-hmm. Gosh.
But as far as who I'm doing this for, other than that, I don't care what people feel, but I want to make as many people feel as I can. Mm-hmm. I don't care if all that they're feeling from our music is like fucking partying, or they feel like fighting, or they feel happy or sad or scared or fucking
even like
angry.
Completely repulsed, like Jesus
The
Christ.
only thing like that I don't want, is like I don't ever want somebody to listen to our music and be like, oh, this wasn't made for me. You know what I mean? This wasn't made for who I am. I want everybody, like every type of person to enjoy our music.
Yeah,
and that's
and-
the only
and-
thing I don't want people to feel is like this isn't for them.
And like some of the stuff we actually talk about in the songs, like I also want it to be relatable. Like I like trying to sometimes be a voice for people that don't feel like they have the confidence being in a band or showing up to a show or whatever. Because the thing is, all of us
dudes with smegma who
all,
can't admit
yeah,
it.
all of us
They
were
are
dudes
not
with,
allowed at our
no,
shows.
Look, all of us at one time were dudes with smegma at a hardcore show.
Yeah.
At one time,
All of us,
represent it.
all of us, Mason.
yeah. It's not my fault you don't know how to shower. I'm just kidding.
But yeah, we I was serious about the smegma. I'm not trying to smell that shit when I'm washing them. But no, I mean honestly, like the closest thing to an end goal is still technically not an end goal because it's just to
You're right.
It's to affect as many people as possible. I don't care if we ever listened to by millions of people. I just want to get as many people as I can to actually feel something. And like that, you can say it's an end goal, but technically speaking, as many people as I can is like an undefined number. I mean, there can always be more people that you can get to feel.
And you always can better yourself as a musician, man. I mean, like, there's so many bands out there that's been together for 50, 60 years and still rehearse the same old songs they did when they were 16.
I don't know if I'll be, I don't know if any of us will be playing hardcore punk, thrash, crossover thrash when we're like 70.
Derek will.
Derek will.
By himself.
Derek will.
70,
Derek
yeah.
will. The rest of us, though, I don't know if we'll be doing it when we're 70, but we'll be doing something. Like whether like lots of shit ton, dude. I'll be 70 years old. Why do I care? But
Somebody's gonna be changing your diaper.
but
It's the other way around now.
but we'll be doing something. Mason lives and breathes music.
I'll, yeah.
Cameron's extremely creative and I'm passionate in everything that I've tried to do, whether I succeeded or not. And I feel like it's actually the first thing in my life that I've done and I've like actually like somewhat like I definitely haven't even, I don't think I've even reached like a quarter way threshold for what we're gonna end up doing.
And we know that,
I feel like this is the first time I've succeeded in the sense of like I'm actually doing something with this.
Dude, and even if no one, and I say no one as in like millions of people, but even if your album or your music never reaches critical acclaim, whatever, I still think the adventure and the undertaking of a first album like what you guys pulled off, in my opinion, which again doesn't mean there's no weight to that, there's nothing going on here, but with that, that is an accomplishment that I think that is worth the investment.
It
It
is.
lives
Thank you.
on forever. It's
Yeah.
good, man. Like whether anybody else recognizes it's good, all you have to do is just keep going. And I hope that for you guys. Like I hope whatever happens, it's just that it can continue and evolve and develop and be better and more coherent and just like more rooted in you're not giving a fuck. Like I think that's so useful. It really is. Like,
And-
it's a utility to society to have certain people who will get up on a mic and talk about their dicks. And like, it's like a comedian. Like you bring a part of the human
Man.
spirit to life that everybody
We
else
actually,
is like put away because they don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
It's crazy to think that and this is really wild because I really do think about this sometimes. 40 years old isn't that old, but it would be so weird that we're going to be 40 years old one day and be like, wow, we wrote that fucking album when we were 19. That's very weird to me to think that we wrote that album when we were 19 when, his kid's going to be like in elementary school, to think of those kind of,
When I'm 40.
I don't,
Damn.
He's gonna be 20 years old.
I don't know. I don't, look,
He
there's
graduated but doesn't know math.
there's a reason I'm the drummer of this band. It's because only
Drum go bang bang boom boom.
Okay, so we were talking about the future of this band. it's going nowhere now because they're all laughing at me, so it's nowhere.
We're not laughing at you. We're laughing with you.
I'm laughing at you.
Well, your opinion doesn't matter.
There's a no. I actually, as far as like the album thing and the fact that we've even put anything out there at all, I always told myself like I will never get a flesh hole tattoo until we record an album.
Yeah.
Because once we do that, it's like if it's nothing else, it's permanent.
Either do you?
I know. I still don't have one, but I told myself. I said I told myself that. I didn't say like I definitely was.
Is the face
I won't get one of
the face the symbol?
It's like the okay. I don't
drew
need
that,
I don't
right?
need to do this. I drew that. Yeah.
He drew it, but
So
he
look,
hates it. But
look,
the only thing
Why?
I drew that face,
it's cool.
and I hate it.
I think it's cool. It's
I hate it.
unique.
I hate it.
So look, here's the thing.
It's not
Man,
unique?
I feel like
No.
when you have like the Nirvana Dead Smiley and then the Blink 182 Dead Smiley and then that one album that I think Cameron or someone
But
else sent
listen,
to the
though.
group
Well, it's
chat.
a reference
Here's
to
the thing,
great
though.
things.
I didn't
but
like.
Ricky-
I wasn't actually. It wasn't even like.
Tell him about Ricky.
I wasn't.
that who
I'm
Ricky
gonna.
is?
Oh, I'm gonna fucking get to Ricky.
I
All right.
actually
I-
hit you guys
Ricky
up
Flesh.
initially and said Ricky. Remember?
I
think-
my page the page goes by Ricky Flesh
Yeah,
because that's
I
like
said,
the
hey
name.
Ricky, thanks
yeah.
for.
Yeah,
Ricky's
yeah, that's
just
the
like
whole.
a-
It's
just
the
like a-
Ricky is the embodiment of Flesh Hole at this point. But
He's the
But
characteristic.
He's the
we,
pipes in the sewer system.
we when we got here and it's like which one of you guys is Ricky? But when
Who was I communicating with?
so actually when
The
I drew
manager?
it, I wasn't considering like any other band because I'm actually not a huge fan of Nirvana or Blink. So
Bad taste
they
in
listen to
music.
both of them.
He doesn't have good taste.
But I'm fine with them as bands. I just don't like. I'm not fans of them like that.
Mm-hmm.
But actually, it was from a comic book called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. There's these like doodles of like these really gnarly looking, big grinning faces all over the place, and like terrified faces, and just like general like rip off smiley faces. And I was like looking at those, and that's when I drew up the Ricky face. And because we needed some sort of image for like our Facebook and all those things, so I drew that in like this white notebook paper. Then wrote like Flesh Hole in this weird font, cut them both out, then taped them to an orange piece of paper, and posted that as like our image everywhere. And everybody in the band loved it, and I loved it. And then a couple years passed, and I just keep seeing this fucking image show up, and I'm like, you know what? I fucking hate Ricky. I'm like, I really fucking hate this image. I hate that I drew it. If I
But
could
he
go
doesn't
back
have a
in
choice
time.
no more.
I don't
have.
actually know if it matters anymore.
No,
think you have a choice.
it doesn't. It doesn't. I don't even take that in like an offensive way. It literally does not
Yeah.
matter what I think about it because at this point, like
The fans.
It's alive.
Yeah, all 12 of our fans and the other 3 bandmates.
Hey, all 36 monthly listeners on Spotify.
Yeah, it's
Be interesting to see how many plays would be
It's
linked back to my
what
account.
it really is these 3 will not fucking let me, or specifically like him.
I will literally go to court to keep that logo.
So I kind of do what I can. I do what I can to modify him every now and then.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Just
I
a
can
little
see
bit.
that.
'Cause I tried
He's
one time.
evolved.
I tried one time, and it was like really realistic, and it was cool as shit. Way cooler than ours.
was-
Anyway, he fucking hated it. He hated it, and he's like, it's not going to be that. He's like, no, we're going with a simpler design. So I'll take him and I'll add like little tweaks here
But-
and there. That keeps him simple. And I'm like, what about this?
This
Is
dude is the
fine?
best artist in the band, though. Like drawing and image and stuff. That doesn't do it. I think the real reason he really does get upset about it is it does not do justice for what he can really do.
Okay,
It's just-
that makes sense.
It's just he was just awful that day. He probably felt sick, and he drew that terrible emblem. But I love it.
I think it's sick, dude. I like it.
Bryson Pace's best work.
But that's probably
Yeah,
like you've said a
okay.
couple times. I'm not a real music. Like you don't claim to be a musician, but you bring all of this other stuff to the table to these creative
That's
musicians.
what I think. Like I've got like a little coin purse full of weird little fucking like
that's
half,
useful as
full of
that's
little
so
half
useful.
talents, because
Yeah.
I don't even really like I definitely would say I'm an artist, but I'm not like I didn't go to art school. I couldn't sell my art, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
which is fine. but like I'm not like a professional artist. I don't color shit almost ever, you know. I just kind of draw like characters and things like that, logos sometimes for different, like I drew a logo for one of Mason's side projects recently, and just stuff like that. Like that's where I really shine, is in simple stuff like character design and like little logos. But I've got like a little handbag of weird little shit that I've picked up that I'm like, oh, I bet this could help I'll sprinkle this on it. This could help us, you know? And so I'll just do that in the back. One thing is like, kind of like, I'll sit down sometimes, like every couple weeks, I go through like phases where I'll be really interested in something else. And like one thing is I'll get really interested in like, how can I manage my band, you know? Which I don't want to do.
Start looking into the music industry.
I don't want to fucking do it at all. I hate it, but like I know that somebody has to right now. And so I'll sit down for a couple of hours, you know, every once in a while, like looking into how to market our stuff better, and like how to book shows better, send our stuff to, you know, we haven't sent our music to any labels, but
I was going to ask
but when
if
we
promotion or playlisting or like anything was involved in your release.
I think really though, I don't like bringing this up because I hate talking about this, but I really do think the pandemic really did not help, because we couldn't tour. We love to tour. We love to play live. We love meeting people. More than anything, we like meeting other bands. Like we love playing with other bands. But
That's how I found you. Discovered you.
Yeah.
Whatever. Introduced. I didn't.
Our marketing is basically like very half-assed attempts.
But I think we're better. I think we're better at it.
I think we're a little bit better at it. I think we're not consistent, you know, online where we could be, and I don't think we're like that's what it really is. It's not like half-assed. It's just inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's inconsistent because I kind of know how to do it. Obviously, not to the level of someone who actually went to school for it, but as far as like someone who is completely unqualified to do it. I've got a general
like
concept.
stuff like that. The videos, the art, or the Ricky, it's all good enough. You know what I mean? For what you need.
It's like we're confident enough to know that like we have something going. I think it's more that like we do all like you. We all have full-time jobs. Some of us got families, and I think we just forget to go like, man, even though we're off the clock, you're on the clock. This is like, this is it. Like you got
nobody's got a gun to your head, but it is like, how serious do you want to be? Like that's the thing about not having a manager, is like you guys self-manage yourselves.
One of us does.
No,
Mason actually does a lot of the heavy lifting when it comes to like connections, because he's had like previous experience in bands like Farrington, and he played that show with Modest, so he knows a lot about like
that's
ins
great
and stuff like that. He knows how to book shows. He knows how to you know, he's the reason we recorded it all.
It's awesome. But even like, you know, you said like wanted to get more shows and stuff, but I just feel like when it comes to like, if you're going to play promoter, and I don't know much about that, but I have gotten shows for one of the bands I work with, dude, it's like I'm a sales rep. Like it's just one sentence with a link, blast it to every person who has a fucking email and honestly, is associated with the venue. Like,
no, really though, that's like, you literally have to be like, hey, let us play for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Like anywhere, like, and that like once again, I think we just now got in the rhythm of that again, because we felt like it was too risky to be traveling. Hell, we had like ideas of playing in like Pennsylvania, New York for the album before like 1,000 people died. Or
I was talking to people in Richmond, Virginia, and like Salem, Massachusetts, which I was really interested in Salem because it's like spooky. You know, the album's all horror themed, and it's like witches. Ooh, Salem, Massachusetts.
Yes.
You know? And so that was a big one that I really wanted to hit, which we didn't get into like actually booking or anything like that. It was just like I was like communicating with this guy that's in the local scene up there, and then it was all taken away from me.
That's good.
He got sick again.
I actually did catch COVID in last October.
Did it fuck with you?
It fucks with me. It's still
It's okay. Our households had it. Everybody lived.
It fucked with me pretty bad. Yeah, I still kind of wake up with like problems breathing. Mostly though, the real shitty thing is like caught it like after we recorded. So naturally everyone's like, you caught it in Ohio. And I'm like, you don't understand. We were next to fucking no one in Ohio. There was like a group of 4 people me and Derek talked to for a little bit outside. And we were like standing a couple feet away from them. Yeah, they had like super COVID and blasted it.
So it was actually weird was I was actually sick the whole time we were down there, but I got a COVID test before I went because I didn't want to go because, you know, like I'm not going to give it.
Wait, when did you record?
October. It's about to actually be a year.
2020.
Yeah, early October, and we released like a couple weeks before
I went and got a
Halloween.
COVID test, and they were like, "You don't have COVID, dog." They were like,
The
You don't
doctor
have
says, you don't have COVID, dog.
He said, I don't know what to tell you, G. I think you're just sick.
yeah, it was Snoop Dogg. He was like, "You ain't got
He said,
COVID."
shit.
Yeah, we so I came back and I knew it. I knew I didn't catch it in Ohio because of the timing. You know, it was a little while after I had gotten back that I even started showing symptoms, like more than like 3 weeks after. But everyone's like, "Man, you fucking caught it in Ohio, dude." And I'm like, I caught it at work
just
for
because
sure.
that's like the biggest thing I've done in the last month.
The
doesn't mean
only
that's where
thing, but like they're like neglecting the
dirty.
fact that half the time I'm just really fucking stinky. I actually gave myself COVID.
That's one of the side
I think like you guys are neglecting the fact that we stayed in our fucking cars half the time.
Right.
You know, like
automotive COVID.
we did like the most to not have any interaction. And I feel like honestly I had less interaction in that week than I had for the months leading up to that because I work in a warehouse. So I was constantly around people, and then like, you know, half of my department was out with it as well at the same time, and I'm like, no, I got it from work. But yeah, it affected me pretty bad. I lost like 15 pounds. My breathing is still pretty shot, but I managed just enough to like play. Like I you know, it's no question of like whether it's going to keep me from playing or not, or you know, singing. I can still pull through pretty easily, and it's getting better. So you know, I've got, you know, a lot to look forward to.
Good. All right. I think that was a great first podcast, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
Thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you guys for coming over. I have one closing comment that this will stick with me for the rest of my memory about you guys is your set was over at Fuchsia Fest about a month and a half ago. You had ended your set. It was over. I look over. Derek is still going hard. Puts his guitar on the ground. Do you remember this?
I think so. Okay, so with shows, with how
That
I
heat
play
stroke.
shows, I don't look is because I have stage fright. It's a I got to get over it. I've played too many shows to still have it.
I mean,
but
good luck getting over it.
I
Like,
just
some
don't.
people
I
just
don't look at anybody. I just like I try to do like to resist crowd, but like somehow.
So were you unaware that the show was over?
Yes.
Derek goes into like a
After-
state of disassociation.
After he realized he's made everybody have permanent deafness.
No,
But I said something. I'm like, dude, I said something to you after the set. Like, I saw that you kept playing. I thought it was awesome because somehow your guitar was on the
I know what he's
ground.
talking about. I was playing the Simpsons theme. It's a tradition.
Oh,
that
yeah,
I do
yeah.
at every one of our shows. I have played it at the end of our set.
Sweet.
So
live on.
it's like such a contrast because as soon as the show ended, I'm gonna look really cool if as soon as we end, I just walk right the fuck out with my mic stand.
As he
Yeah,
plays
yeah.
The Simpsons.
And so
Like, who does that?
So
Derek was playing The Simpsons. I'd turned on all my pedals, put my bass against the speaker just to let feedback come out.
And I started breaking down because I got anxiety.
so like everything is complete chaos. Like we don't plan anything at all. We don't talk over like what we're gonna do during the set. All I say beforehand is like, Derek, if you say something stupid in the mic, I'm gonna kick your ass.
And you want to hear something funny? Everything that was stupid that was said in that concert was by him. If you listen to it, you say some pretty
I
snarky comments.
intentionally
All right,
did that for character.
Okay.
But
Okay, guys. It's all right. We've had a good podcast.
yeah, this is gonna end in a fight. This is gonna end in a
Okay,
no,
but the point was, I loved that you did that. You kept it going, and then that was your comment. You said something like, I was nervous as shit before this. I have real bad anxiety or something like that. And then that was all that we said that night.
My tooth
Yeah,
hurts.
that was I wanted to break it down to where like there's no characteristic or personality there. Like I'm trying to like stick away from everybody else because I'm not thinking about everyone around
Yeah.
me, you know. It's
Well, it
more
was
about
cool.
yourself.
It caught my attention. All right, Flesh Hole. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Wes.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Seriously.
Thanks, Wes.
Yeah. All right.